Hello, hello, hello. Look, you guys, I know you have not seen me since when? September, August or September. Come in, come in, come in. My name is Linda Murray Bullock. They call me the Business Plug. And tonight on the Business Plugs Mixer, we're going to learn about how you can do some things about making money with podcasts. But before we get there, I need to tell you about Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I am going to be teaching business owners how to best market their business. Like I've noticed a lot of small businesses, when you market to everyone. And statistics say that if you're marketing to everyone, you're actually throwing money out the window. So on Tuesday, I'm going to teach you how to market specifically to your target audience. By doing that, you are saving money and you're only capturing those people who actually want your product or service. So that's what we're doing on Tuesday. I'm going to put the link after this, but you can go to the LSMB Business Solutions page on Facebook and you could actually get that link to go ahead and buy your ticket. I'm talking about $20. For $20, you can learn how to market your business well. And with that said and done, hello, 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 my special guest, September. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm so happy to see that you're doing
I'm
well,
doing better.
Linda. And I'm so excited and honored that this is like your first time back on since
This is my
September.
first. This is the reboot. This is my first since August, probably. COVID had me, and so I've been fighting for my life. But now I'm back, and I am so eager. I'm so glad that you're my first guest to come back and tell my people what you do and how you do it. So tell them a little bit about September. First of all, tell them, how did your name get to be September?
Well, it was not my idea. I was the first child that my parents had, and I was born in September. When the doctor said, "Yes, your first baby's going to be born in September," my mom said, "Good enough." So I
That's a
was like,
name.
"That's the one. That's the one." My last name is Smith, so she'd also been told that she couldn't name the baby after any living relative, and there are a lot of Smiths. So she thought that's unique. Chances are there's not another one. She was right. So
Well, I
that's
love
how I
it.
got
I
the name.
love it. But that is so interesting. I love that your name is September. Like you're the only September I know. I know some autumns, but I don't know
Ooh.
any Septembers. Yeah. So that's pretty neat. So tell us about what you do and how did you get started? Like how did you get to here?
Okay. I am presently two things. I am a podcaster. I'm a podcast host and had my podcast, She's All That video podcast, going for over a year now. And I also teach people, business people in particular, how to use podcast guesting because pod,
Yeah.
podcast, the whole phenomenon, the medium of podcast is such a strong and growing place for you to be getting your message there, especially as social media becomes more and more crowded and it's becoming
Yes.
harder and harder to use. It's allowing you to diversify your message, but also you're not in competition. Like on social media, it's two-way. You write something, then 6 million people come in and argue with you, particularly with your topic, Linda, what
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
message is
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
It's yeah, actually, it's a great medium for you because it's one way. Nobody's going to get in and argue and try to shut you down. Um, and that's how, no, I was going to say that's how we met, but that's not how we
We met
met.
before that. We
I
met
met you.
before that.
Yeah. I actually,
Yeah.
um, it's not a secret. Tomorrow, I have a podcast episode dropping, and Linda is the guest expert and interviewee for that. It was
Ah.
just, it was just so fortuitous. It was so strange. We met in August. You and I were in some business conversation. It was a long thread, a lot of people back and forth, and I thought, who is this woman? And hi, Michelle. And when I saw what you did and that you were helping women with economically disadvantaged women-owned businesses and
Absolutely.
funding and programs and what was out there, I thought, okay, I want to get to know you. So connected with you, we chatted back and forth. We made a date. We were going to get on a call. And as you'll hear tomorrow when you listen to the episode, because it's a great story, the day of our appointment was September 27th, and it came, and I got on the Zoom call, and Linda didn't show up, and minutes ticked by, and I thought, something's a little off about this. I just a little bit I know about this woman. She's a woman of integrity, a woman of her word. Like, what's going on? But anyways, all right, I'll go back to my work. sent you a note saying, Linda, I hope everything's okay. You didn't show up, but we'll catch up later. And you were actually in an induced coma. I didn't find out for a month and a half later.
Yeah,
You were fighting for your life at that moment.
absolutely. I was stricken by COVID. And so, because of my comorbidities, um, I got diagnosed on September 21st and then got the result. No, I took the test on the 21st of September. On the 23rd of September, I received my results. And I called my doctor and asked her, what should I do? And she said, get to the emergency room now. And so, always, obedience is something that I hearken to. So I went to the emergency room, and within minutes of being there, I crashed. Like, I don't remember being in pain. I don't remember being in any distress. But when I looked at what I wore to the hospital, there was definitely some distress going on. But
That's not in the podcast.
my fashion sense was definitely off that
Oh,
day. But within minutes, they had to resuscitate me.
like you
Like, I
died.
died. Yeah, yeah, I did. I died, and they revived me and brought me back and put me on life support. I was on a ventilator for 15 days. I think I may have said 17 in
Hmm.
the podcast, but it's
Hmm.
15 days to be
Okay.
exact. And the 17 days was when I first start coming out of the fog. But they saved my life. Like, people my age have died, and I was the oldest living
You said
person.
the first person
The
of your
very first.
demographic that survived in, is it just in Tennessee or?
No, it was actually for that hospital. So
Okay.
it is a regional acute hospital, trauma center one, and they had seen so many patients, and the nursing and things were saying that, they like clapped and things. They were like, we don't get to see people live here. Like, people are dying. And the fact that I survived it, they were like blown away, especially with my age. I'm 62 now. I was 61 then. But they, applauded. And so when I woke up, I saw all these new, I had 275 messages, 7,400 emails, 275 voice messages, and and 7,400 emails to respond to. And then I saw your, reaching back and saying, hey, Linda, I was there. Nobody showed up, da da da. And I was like, okay, I need to reconnect with her
I'm so
because
glad you did.
all my appointments, I missed a lot of appointments, and I didn't remember having symptoms of COVID, but evidently I was feeling fatigued and feverish. And that's what I put in emails to some meetings that I was supposed to have been attending is, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm feverish and fatigued, and I will catch up with you as soon as I have. I actually posted when I got my results. I posted, I have COVID and I'm going to quarantine for 14 days. But
How optimistic.
yeah, I did more than 14 days. I was actually hospitalized for 25 days.
But
But yeah,
the reason that I had you on as a guest is because my podcast this season is all about women who are doing something strong, significant. They had a life, they had an identity, and that was your business and is your business, the business plug. And then something unforeseen just blows it all up.
exactly.
And it sends them off in a whole other direction. And when you were on the call with me and you told me that this has inspired you with a
Oh yeah.
mission of letting self-employed and business people and entrepreneurs know that COVID kills. This is not
Yeah,
something to be trifled with.
this is not. And I mean, my son had it after that. And I was like, son, go get checked out because I didn't feel distressed. I don't remember. I drove myself to the hospital. And so I didn't feel distressed. But at the same time, my lungs were being filled with that mucus
Yeah.
that, puts you in respiratory distress and you die. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
get to the hospital soon enough. And by the time they get there, it's too late.
That's
And
what I've heard. It'll
yeah,
be like, because you underestimate the severity of it.
because you don't
Because you're
feel
like,
it.
well, I don't feel that bad. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, exactly. I didn't feel sick to death. I mean, I didn't
now
feel like, if I
one
don't get there, I'll die. I didn't feel that.
yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, my lungs were being filled up with mucus, and I died.
And
That's
as
the
you
truth.
said, your doctor told you it could be as much as a year before you're, if you're lucky, that
Yeah,
you regain the health that you had before this hit you.
absolutely.
And you, in the story, I highly recommend, and not just because it's my podcast, I highly recommend you listen to the story. I can't tell you a couple things when I was editing it. Again, filled with inspiration and just admiration at what you're doing. Because as soon as she was able, as soon as the steroids, she had passed that point where the doctor said, "Okay, now the steroids are out of your body. You can be vaccinated." Linda did a live stream and was encouraging people
Encourage
to
other people to come
don't.
join me. And
And,
some did. I did a national a national live program for a couple of hours on the 14th of November. And I invited people and sent out gifts to those that did, to encourage people, because no one wants to go through what I went through September. I mean,
mm,
I lost time
well,
and
well,
came
what what
very close to dying.
what people wouldn't know from this conversation, and you might not know from the podcast, is Linda actually said to me before we went live this evening, I might not be able to really do a lot of the talking. I'm exhausted. You're exhausted most of the time. You just stay awake all day now. You have the brain fog. She said, I just might not be able to do it. You might be doing this by your, like, doing most of the talking by yourself. And that also was apparent in the podcast itself. And I was so shocked when we finished our conversation and I turned off the recording as we were recording our interview, when you took a big breath and put your oxygen on
Yeah.
and then started hauling on that one. And it was like, oh my God, she faked it so well. But I really realized when I was listening and editing the audio for that, because of course I'm much more intent on the
Right.
sound, the struggling and the laboring of your breathing through the whole
Absolutely.
conversation. And that was just over 6 weeks after. And
Yeah.
the doctor said you might be still struggling with this a year from now.
And I just got off my oxygen, self relieved,
Yeah.
December 6th.
Wow. So you don't use it anymore?
I haven't used it since December 6th.
Congratulations.
Yeah, because
And
I want my lungs to get stronger, and I don't want to be dependent on oxygen.
yeah.
And so I'm learning there are breathing techniques that you can use that helps you to keep yourself. Yeah, it's learning a
You,
whole new way of life.
and at the same time, running your business, as you said, you had 2 months where there was, well, still you're not able
Still,
to fully do your business. And if you're a
yeah,
self-employed person or a business person, an entrepreneur, in our conversation, Linda said, if I hadn't so heavily automated my business, nothing would have survived the time that I was in the hospital. And now
I
that
was
was one
gone
of the
too
few.
long.
And you've got over $250,000 in debt now because of this whole thing, like just for so many reasons. So now she's on a mission to tell people, you got to take this seriously, like protect yourself.
Absolutely, and
And I
that's the
so admire
thing.
you for that.
And I know it's been politicized, and people feel fear and all of that.
But as you
But
say, 80% of the affluent community, now interestingly, you compared it affluent versus communities of color. So that says a lot about the two sides of that coin. The affluent community, 80%
are vaccinated.
are vaccinated. 14%. Hopefully it's gone up since we spoke in late
Hopefully it
November.
has. And you know what? I really need to go back and check those numbers to make sure that I had some sort of impact. I worked with my partners who joined me. I had like 7 partners that joined me, and they were doing things in the community to kind of help influence that number as well,
Nice.
because everybody realized that that's catastrophic and that's just
Yes.
not sustainable.
As we talked about in the giving all the good stuff about the podcast episode away here, but as we talked about in our conversation, being hid cultures, like I think of the indigenous culture in my country, Canada, like 100 years later, generations later, they have not survived the demolition of their culture
Mhm.
and their people and families, and the
Wow.
knowledge and the wisdom and the dreams, as you pointed
Exactly.
out,
Exactly.
are just shredded.
Exactly.
And yeah, you just no. I mean, the individual can't afford to get sick like that. Your business can't
You
afford
can't,
that, but
because
your
yeah,
community, your family, your society.
Exactly, because those are dreams. I've watched entrepreneurs and people that I know have been doing great things in the community, that became entrepreneurs, and now they're no longer with us. And
Yeah.
that's disheartening.
And that's not just entrepreneurs, that's moms and dads and sisters and brothers and children.
It is. It
But
is. And that's the thing. And so getting to what you do
mm,
and how you do it, like I posted a little bit ago. I said, "Are you an interesting person?" So someone who is an interesting person, you feel like you're interesting, and people say you're so interesting. I love hanging around you. I like listening to your stories. Like we all get those clues
yeah.
before we jump off into whatever our entrepreneur dreams are. How interesting are you, and do you like telling people about your story or telling people about what you do or the thing that you're interested in? Do you like sharing that information with other people? Because there are so many people out here, like when you're exercising, when you're driving in your car, because we're not, a lot of people aren't flying or whatever, but they're still traveling. And so they're, gas prices are crazy right now. They're still driving to destinations that are within reach. And so listening to that, they could listen to your podcast and kind of connect with you. So do you have things that you could share with the world that would help them to get through life? Like right now, we need that, right?
Yeah. Actually, podcast listening is just one, it is the fastest growing content medium out there.
Hmm.
It's no holds barred. And the fact that all of the big players, Google, Spotify, Apple, they are all in there grabbing up all the landscape of this kind of thing. It's not, there's no coincidence. They know that this is going to just get bigger and bigger. So, getting your message on there is getting your message on just this growing and more and more influential, powerful platform for your message. But we spoke a little bit before we went live about how for your particular message, now, if anybody's been listening, whether you agree or not, that is an aspect of Linda's story that's really important. Her story is all around COVID, and she has an opinion about it. Social media is not really a good place for you to try to get your message out if there's something that it's controversial or a lot of other people are doing it, but which regardless of what side they fall on, because it's two-way media. And social media has had their wrist slapped about the whole COVID thing and misinformation. So there's a lot of throttling of your message if you're trying to get your message out on social media. It
Right.
was actually quite a happy coincidence that you and I had the conversation we had, that it was just the perfect thing for my podcast season. And this is a great medium for you because it's one-way medium. I think of podcasting as like Netflix for audio.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
you go to Netflix, there aren't 6 million people. Somehow I always use the figure 6 million people. There aren't all these people in there, like posting their pictures of their breakfast and arguing about, whatever. It's you go, you put in what you're looking for, you find it, the platform offers you your choices, and you choose that. And you usually, podcast listeners stick with their episodes on average somewhere between 30 and 35 minutes. You're not going to get that on Facebook. Who's going to stick with your, unless they know you and really love you, or
Right.
or you're naked. People aren't going to stick with you
Or you're
that
naked.
long on Facebook. I'm not suggesting that you do that.
No,
But
if you're nude,
it's,
I'm probably going to skip you. I'm probably going to the next thing.
there's an audience.
But yeah, but
There's
that's the thing. I
nobody
mean,
else is going to stick with your stuff. Not on YouTube. Like the or the watching length on YouTube is just seconds, unless it's really, really super engaging. So it's getting your stuff out there. You are not only uninterrupted by all the other users on it, you are simultaneously, and a lot of people don't think about this. In fact, we talked about it, and you said, where can they find you? If you have an episode on a podcast and it's a well-created podcast, you are now on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Deezer, Stitcher. The list goes on and on. There's
yeah.
12 of the major platforms, and including Amazon Music now carries podcasts.
Hmm.
So anywhere anybody's tuning in when they're busy driving, at the gym, cooking, and they're finding that now home listening is actually exceeding the outside of the home listening, because it was outside
Right.
when people wanted something, a diversion. When you're out there, anywhere they go, they're going to find you. Whereas if you have a YouTube video, if they go to Vimeo or some, Twitch or something like that, you're not there.
Right, exactly. And I like the fact that um as because I'm always trying to teach business on the majority of my followers are entrepreneurs, and I'm always trying to teach them of ways of monetizing that
Hmm.
one idea because they always think, I run into to entrepreneurs who think they have to have 10 ideas. I want to be successful, so I want 10 ideas. And I try to
Hmm.
teach them 19 ways of monetizing that one idea very well
Yeah.
because they're leaving
Because
money on the table.
and you're going to confuse people if like an example I use is in the middle of the pandemic I was looking for I was stuck in a two-bedroom condo with myself, my partner, and my daughter, and we're all entrepreneurs. Well, my partner is an employed person, but we were in this condo, and our cat and our dog, just month after month, we were in lockdown. I was
Yeah.
going out of my mind. So I was looking for some kind of counselor or something that I could just talk to. And I went looking. And one example really jumped out at me. I was looking for keywords women and stress. And this woman came up, and she might have been somebody I wanted to talk to. But when I looked at her list, she specialized in women and family and children and divorce and this and this and this and this, which really made me feel like, what are you actually good at? What
Yeah.
can I trust it? If you're spread that thin, can I
Yeah.
trust that you can really help me? So when you throw up all these things of all the things, I can do this, 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 and
Yeah.
this,
It's
we
brain
all can do a
confusion.
lot of things, but you're
Yeah,
just
it's brain
confusing
confusion,
people.
and I understand multi passionate people. Like
Hmm.
I understand, I promise you, I get that. But I want to encourage my entrepreneurs to be an expert in one thing and love a
Yes.
million things, but be an expert in one thing. Like if I need help, who can I go to for podcasts? Because
Come to me.
just like your search, I'm
Yep.
going to put podcasts. I'm
Yep.
going to put women supporting women. I'm going to put very specifically those things that I need
You're
in order.
looking for. Yep.
Exactly. And so, in order for people to find them, like you can be multi talented, you can be multi dimensional, you can be multi passionate, multi whatever. But what is your specialty? What is your superpower? Because you
And
won't have superpower in all of those.
what do you really? I mean, what do you want to make money doing?
Exactly. And
That's a key
that's the one thing.
consideration.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the first thing is when I have clients that come to me and they have a million ideas. And I always stress get to the one that gets you to the money first.
Yep.
That's where you want to go. You want to put
Hmm.
all your eggs in the basket that's paying. Like what they say, pay attention to the business that's paying. You want to pay attention to,
Hmm.
to the business that's paying. And so podcast is a way of getting
Yep.
out there and letting people hear how you think because it's
That's
all about know, like, and trust, right?
yeah. And
Getting to know how you
there's
think.
nothing like audio. You've
Yeah,
got your earbuds in, and somebody's, but they don't say sweet, whispering sweet nothings in your ear for nothing. There's something about hearing someone's voice in your ear
yeah,
that really, really strikes a chord, and you really feel connected. And I've said it before. I can't. Actually, Michelle was on the call, uh, commenting here on this live. Michelle has been one of my guests as well, and I've had that comment for her. I've had it for so many of my guests. People will come back to me and say, "Oh, Michelle. Oh, Stacia. Oh, Linda. I love her. I just love her." It's like, you've never met her. You just listen to her for a half an hour and you feel this emotional bond with her.
connection. Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
one of the most important things, and it comes back to what you're saying about your focus, and don't confuse. When somebody's listening to you on the podcast, this is an amazing opportunity for you to get in their head. For them, by the end of that episode, if you've done it right, to be thinking, I need to be working with this person, or I need to tell so and so about this person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a way
For
of getting to know, right?
yeah, so for them to have that takeaway, you have to be very pared down. As you said, we're all, especially if you're an interesting person, you're probably multi passionate. We all have
Absolutely.
a ton of things that we're good at or that we do, but that doesn't matter. You think, what do I want to be known for? What do I want people to what do I want my business to be about? And that is what you talk about on the podcast episode. And
Yeah.
I have broken the cardinal rule because we're talking about COVID, we're talking about business, we're talking about, but this is it. This is not a podcast, so I feel okay talking about other things.
But this is okay because we're talking about things. So I do have a podcast. The
Hmm.
Business Plugs Mixer is actually goes to a podcast from here. So it's a vodcast. And
Oh,
so this would end up this would end up in my library. But the thing about it is just understanding how easy it is to talk about whatever.
And you know what? That can be disastrous.
Yeah,
It can be disastrous because if somebody gets on and they're listening to you and you kind of lay out a nice, easy to understand breadcrumb trail of this is what the problem is, this is why it matters to you, this is how I help people, then by the end of it, they're like, I have that problem. I need you to help me. But if you're talking about your dog and your cat and your time you went to Niagara Falls for your honeymoon and blah, 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 they don't know who you are. They don't know what you're about.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
was like, I don't know. She sounded nice, but I have no idea. And they're probably not going to keep listening because you're all over the map. You have to really have a strategy for the story you need to tell, how you're going to tell it, and stay on point when you're doing that.
Absolutely. It's intentionality. It's
Absolutely.
intentionality. And and,
Mhm.
and so before before COVID, I actually worked with businesses in the first 5 years of their life cycle. So if you go and listen to the Business Plugs Mixer on Spotify or wherever, you'll hear various guests, just like September, who come on and talk about their genius and the things they do in supporting entrepreneurs. That's my wheelhouse. That's where I am. But then, life will take you where it wants you to go.
Yeah.
And so, and so, because of my new episode in September, I now talk about COVID, even but still from the reference point of an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And that's what makes your story so important. And for somebody who is an entrepreneur or a small business person and is vaccine hesitant, it's an important story to hear because it's not like you said, you thought, well, I'll give it some time, maybe, let them work the kinks out of it. You can't wait. You can find yourself, if you survive,
I
your
know.
business can be destroyed.
Disastrous. And the thing about it, waking up like I did and had a business plan customer that I had been working with, and that I thought I had sent him everything he needed to move forward, and I hadn't.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
from the hospital bill, from the hospital bed, I
Yeah.
had to get my partner to come, and we walked through his business plan to make sure, because I wasn't in a headspace to do it.
No, no, no.
It was hard for me to even think, let alone try to complete a business plan. But
Yeah, and like you said, that you and your business are going to be impacted
it's
probably
it's
for
impossible
the
for it
next
not to
years.
be.
So it's an important message, and I was very glad as a podcaster that it fit with the theme of my season of women who have had some catastrophic bomb hit down somewhere in midlife, and it sent them off in this whole other direction that in some ways is even more powerful than what they were doing, and you are the epitome of that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I was really glad to co-create that episode with you. And that's the really great thing about podcasts versus say doing it, having done it, say on a Facebook Live or something like that. 2-3 days from now, nobody's going to find your Facebook Live. Your podcast has a longevity. Your podcast episode will be findable for years to come.
I know.
And that's whether it's a good one or a bad one. So if you just go in and you're like, well, the worst thing I hear is, I'll just wing it. I'll just see what they ask me and I'll just answer the questions. Like, don't do
Don't do
that.
that.
This is your business
No.
reputation. This is not only is it an opportunity for you to very clearly lay out, this is what I do. It's also an opportunity for potential clients to get a sample of you, of who you are. So if you're just on there being asked, who knows what kind of questions, and most podcasts, like 99.9% of podcast hosts are amateurs. They're not professionals, unlike radio and TV. So you have no guarantee that they're not going to take you off on some bizarre
Exactly.
conversation
Well, who
romp
among us
where
haven't
you don't want to
heard?
be.
Among us haven't heard where the person being interviewed was asked a random question, right, off the cuff, and they gave their response for that time period, and
Mm-hmm.
then 10 years down the line,
It comes
someone
back to
says,
bite them.
"Ooh,
Yes.
but back here you said,"
Yep.
so intentionality has its place.
Yep. Yep. Planning. That's what I do with my clients. There, we have to first figure out what is your business goal that this podcasting is supporting. What are you trying to achieve with it? And you have to know that. You just don't go on and like, I'll just do it like it's a bucket list item. You have to be very specific and strategic about it. So, what do I need to achieve with this? Then what is the story that describes my brand and me and what I do that's going to achieve those goals? Then what are the right shows for me? Because not every show is right for you.
Exactly.
And then once you've decided, and 99% of the shows out there are not the right show for you to be on. So don't just go on any show because somebody asked you. Um, Once you know the shows that you want to be on that are really going to help leverage your media profile, because from podcasting, you can go on and you can get newspaper, you can get magazines, you can get television, you can get speaking from the stage opportunities if you do it right. Once you've decided this is the show for me, that is, you have to know how to pitch it so
Yes.
that they're going to go like, yes, this is the person for me. And pitching a show is not, I'll be on your podcast. That is not a pitch. So, and the last thing that I do with my clients is teach them what to do with the episode when it drops.
Mm. Mm.
And just as a little example of that, let's use what Linda should be doing tomorrow. Now, what Linda should know, and she already knows the link. She knows the
Yes.
link of where the podcast is going to be. She is going to this evening receive all of the thumbnails and the assets. She is now connected with me on all the channels that we know that she uses. We're connected. So tomorrow, when me and my team start putting out our promotional stuff for her episode, she's going to get notified. She's going to get in there. She's going to not just like it, because especially on LinkedIn, just doing a like, is if Michelle's still on the call, she'd be like, yes, because she's a LinkedIn specialist. Just liking it isn't going to do a whole lot. And just sharing it's not going to do a whole lot. You're going to want to be sharing it. If you share it, share and do share it with a comment like,
Absolutely.
oh, we talked about this. And don't just say, it was so fun, or it was such an honor.
Yay.
Boring. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Whatever you write has to be enticement. So the
Right.
people go, oh, wow. So like you write something about like, it was so great. Like we talked about blah, 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 whatever it is you talked about
Mhm.
that you think the audience might be attracted by. And then you comment. You don't just post it, you comment in it, and you can tag people that you think are relevant for it. So you really kind of get a conversation going on your post, on the host post, and you do that on every platform where it is. And you send it out in your email list like, hey, there's this thing happened this week, and I'm so happy. Because, especially in my case, I'm profiling your business.
Yes.
So you're going to want to tell your clients about that. So you put it out in your email list, tell people personally, in your own personal circle, and you really, really try to give it legs, really get those algorithms spinning to really push your episode. And then
Absolutely.
more and more people are going to hear it. And the difference between doing that and doing nothing can be for just 7-ish times more views and more downloads and more listens.
And more
What
musicians
Yes, when
speaking
people, because
quotes.
the more people that hear you, the more people you have now gotten in front of, and that's your whole purpose for doing this guesting.
Exactly. And that goes hand in hand with what I'm going to teach Tuesday. So let's say you're new and you've never done advertising for yourself other than tagging 98 of your best friends. Let's say that's what you've done for advertising at this point. Well, on Tuesday, we're going to take apart the whole marketing plan and help you to create one. Like you'll have a marketing calendar to go by when the class ends so that you can understand how to market your business before the people who are ready to pay, who want
Yes.
your service or your product and are
Mhm.
ready to pay for it. Wouldn't that be wonderful if I'm going to do this marketing of this podcast to people that want opinions about COVID? Like I have a friend that works for one of the medical people that has the shots. Like I'm giving her, I'm giving her this podcast because they hire people to go around the country talking about the what happens with COVID.
Your story would be just an excellent example for people to use, because we crafted it strategically. It flows in a way that tells the story that
Mhm.
in a form that brings the listener along, and you tell the story so well, and it is such a strong and impactful story. And the moral of the whole story that you put in there is undeniable. But if you listen to that and you were vaccine hesitant and you listen to that story, I think anybody would waver.
Well, my thing is the whole point is for people to be informed.
Yep. Yep.
Like, not trying to change your mind about how you feel, your fears, your,
Yep.
your,
Hey, I was afraid.
yeah.
I'm double vaxxed. I was afraid. I had my first vax May the 4th,
Look,
Star
I
Wars
had my
Day.
first one
I was
November 15th.
terrified. I was
Yeah,
terrified. I could not
yeah,
sleep the whole night before, but I thought, okay, if I don't do it, if everybody went like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna do it," then nothing changes if nothing changes.
yeah,
So it's
exactly. Look,
like I just kind of, weighed up the pros and cons and crossed my fingers and wish for the best, and
when my doctor told me how many people were in the emergency room begging to be vaccinated because they were getting ready to go down that trail I went through.
yeah,
Like, I had a young lady call me and said, Miss Linda, I don't want to die. But she was already in the hospital, and praise God, she did make it out. And, she's doing fine now.
yeah,
But it's scary because you hear
yep.
about so many people dying. Like when you
And
don't
the
have it.
unvaccinated in Tennessee, the stats that we had from when we recorded 5 weeks ago,
Yeah.
the stats were that 87% of all the people dying in Tennessee were unvaccinated.
And it was going, yeah, yeah. And the infection rate was going up at that time to like 56% increase.
Mm,
So we were in, yeah. And that's why when I got out of the hospital, I felt drawn to tell my story. So at least people have an educated opinion of however
yep,
they went,
yep,
but at least you could have a conversation with your doctor, or you
mhm,
could have a conversation with your medical provider and get a clear understanding for you. Because again, there were several things that I hadn't taken care of
mhm.
before I got sick, that going through that whole episode, I learned a lot about me. And even though my business was automated,
Yes.
I learned a lot. I saw all my gaps in my
That's a
life,
hard way to see the gaps.
and in my business. All
Yeah,
my gaps came screaming at me,
yeah,
So it's just understanding, fully understanding how awful it can be, and then at least put preparation in place so that you
yep,
don't go through what I went through.
yep.
You know,
And looping back to what you've been saying about the marketing and the marketing plan and everything,
yeah,
podcast content is some of the juiciest content that you could ever wish for your business, especially if somebody like me with my podcast, or like Linda is so generous as to say like, hey, let's talk about what you do.
yeah,
Who else is giving you the platform to just get up and talk? And if you haven't thought about it, what you need to know is the whole interview format is psychologically very, very strong and impactful for credibility, for persuasion. Think about it. That's why the news always has the anchor and the expert. They could
yeah.
easily just stick an expert on the screen and go like, "Hey, we're going to talk to Bob," and Bob go blah 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 blah. But they don't do that because there's
Right.
much more believability, credibility. People are much more mm, convinced by what you're saying when a host is saying, "Oh, and she will tell us what she does." You take that content, you market it the first time, but you also repurpose it and you put it on
Absolutely.
your website so that when people go there, it's like, "What? I can click through and hear her?" And then they listen to you for 30 minutes. Like, she's amazing. What other content could you have? If you paid somebody to create that kind of content for you, it'd be starting at a couple of thousand.
Absolutely.
You get
And I
that for
love the
free
fact
with
that
a
you can do
podcast.
that. You can do podcasting while you're doing anything, right?
Mhm.
You can be cooking, listening to a podcast.
Yep.
You can be exercising, looking to a podcast. You can do your homework. Me.
Well, don't know if your grades are going to be too good if you're listening to podcasts. Well, yeah.
I
Stop
mean, but,
listening
but
to that
but you
podcast.
can multitask, because a lot of us like to
Yep.
multitask. And I know there's a
Yeah.
whole wave right now of do not multitask, be in the moment. But it does allow you to do some of the things that you need to get done and still be educated and learn about a new topic or learn about a new subject matter
I
that you're
learned
curious
so
about.
much every time I'm at the gym.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't want to pay attention to the fact that I'm on a treadmill. So
No.
I
And
stick a
time goes
podcast
quickly.
on. It totally
Mhm.
goes quickly, and you can speed it up so you can get
Exactly.
it at 1.2, 1.5 times the speed, and you learn so much. And I come out of listening to a podcast so inspired. Like, yeah, podcasts are just like growing in popularity, and it's not a flash in the pan. The trend is upward from here.
Yeah,
getting yourself on there so that you've got a legacy and getting more and more really well made, really focused episodes all about you talking about your brilliance is a really savvy marketing move for you and your business.
absolutely. And then the space, making, holding a space for people just like you who are
Mhm.
interested in what you're interested in.
Mhm.
Like, you can hold a space and it can be your space, because you don't need brick and mortar.
Yep.
For this, you just need a line,
Mhm.
and contact people who you consider experts in their field, and have them on your podcast, make it a conversation, just like we're doing now.
Just like this.
Just like this. Just like this.
From Chattanooga to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
To
It doesn't matter where you
Mexico,
are in the
right?
world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. So September told me that on Sundays in Mexico, they actually, this is a family day. And so
Mhm.
she's come outside of her family day to talk to entrepreneurs all around the world about how you can monetize and use as a marketing strategy podcast. Like, talking about I could talk about business day and night in my
Yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah.
I love it so. But something that you are very, very passionate about, that you want to share with the world, like, podcasting is the best way to get it
And
out there.
my advice would be, unless you've got a lot of topics that you need to talk about and the thing you're passionate about is changing day by day, like say if it was technology, well, that changes all the time.
Oh yeah,
In which case, maybe you should have your own podcast because you want to be doing updates all the time. But for most people, you don't have that many talking points. You really have the thing you need to tell people about your business. And it takes a lot of time to create a podcast.
it does.
To it's
Editing.
10 to 20 extra hours on your week. So what a really smart, savvy way to use the power of podcast and save all that time and effort and have somebody produce a whole episode for you is to get on other people's shows. For most people, podcast guesting is the best option.
Absolutely. You swap audiences.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many pluses to doing it.
Yep.
You get to experience a whole new dynamic
Yep.
in the conversation and things. And
And
so,
when you're doing the promotion, like as we're going to start doing tomorrow, you're actually getting in front of someone else's network as well. So it's not just their listeners. When they start to see you on LinkedIn interacting on this thing, LinkedIn is going to be showing you to this whole other network.
absolutely.
So it's a crazy, crazy opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I hope in this hour, that these 45 minutes, that we have at least piqued the interest of people who are interested in podcasting, if you're an entrepreneur. And so, how can they contact you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn under the name September Smith. My company is, of course, consulting, and the website is ofcoursepro.com, all one word. I'm on Facebook. There's not, it's actually surprising how many September Smiths there are on Facebook, but it's actually what? There's more than one of us. But if you're connected with Linda, you can find Linda through me. And you can find us tomorrow when we're interacting on this
Absolutely.
amazing episode that we're dropping about Linda and her journey.
Absolutely. And where you found this link, at the very bottom of it in the description, you'll find her website and how you can get with her on LinkedIn. So those two avenues are already out there for you. But we hope that you have found something to be exciting. People stop commenting. I was looking to see if there were any more comments. Facebook and LinkedIn, we hope that we have given you something to think about as another revenue source for entrepreneurship. Thinking about, reach out to September, because you want to do it the right way. You don't want to just throw anything up there to see if it sticks. That's
Because if it's bad, it's not going to disappear. You cannot make it disappear. It will be out there for years to come for people to find and think, who is this person?
And you don't want that. You
No,
really don't want that.
do
And
it
so,
right.
do it the right way the first time, and then that way you won't have it to worry with. But
Hmm.
yeah, so if you have any questions, like, we'll be checking back, if you after you think of listen to this again, and you think about questions you have, or if you have questions now, you're free to post them, and we'll give you your answers as best as we can. But this whole evening, this whole month, the rest of this month, I have people coming on talking about different ways for entrepreneurs to publish their business, to get their business out there.
Mhm.
Next Saturday, next Sunday, I am having a speaker. She actually recruits public speakers. So if you are a woman that has a Christian story or a Christian message that you would like to present, she actually recruits. I think she's recruited about 5 people from my Facebook page,
Well,
the group. I can't think the Facebook group, which is building your own six-figure business. That is a Facebook group where over 500 men and women are in there learning about business, finding where grants are, like help, how to build their own six-figure business is what that's about. And you can follow September Smith, like she said, on Facebook or here on LinkedIn or wherever you Google the name and follow it, follow, share, comment, like all of that. Do all of that in order to increase the algorithm so that other people can get to know us as well. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug. And this evening, I have plugged you into podcasting for profit. Again, please go to the links in order to connect with her. And let's start the conversation. How can we get your business in front of more people so that you get the customers that you're targeting and you're not losing money in marketing? That's what we're doing. So stay tuned. We'll see you next Sunday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, September, let's tell them goodbye.
thanks so much for having me here, Linda, and thanks for so much for watching. Hopefully, you found it interesting.
Have a great week. Bye bye.
Bye.